everyone. Welcome to another episode of Casual Experts Only, the show where nerds talk about all things nerdy. In this episode, I got a couple buddies of mine to talk about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Now, we actually recorded this pretty soon after the movie came out, like beginning of November, end of October, and it took me this long to edit it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope it's still somewhat relevant to whoever's listening to this. Before we get into that, there's a couple things I wanted to address. First, I did want to address the upload schedule going forward. Now, like pretty much November until a few weeks ago, I was not uploading much at all for a bevy of reasons, a lot of different reasons, but I'm getting back to a regular schedule now. So every other Wednesdays when the podcast goes out on Apple Podcast, Spotify, the audio version. And then that same week on Friday is when I'm planning on uploading them to YouTube. Some of the back catalogs, like I'm still behind on some of them, so some of them are going to be audio only, but the newly recorded ones are going to be video with our lovely faces. So just so you know about that going forward, if you prefer to watch your podcasts on YouTube or whatever, or if you're watching this on YouTube, hello. But yeah, so that's the schedule going forward. Yeah, so one other thing I wanted to bring up is the Superman suit that James Gunn just finally dropped earlier this week, and everybody loves it. Nobody's saying anything bad about it. It's great, right? Yeah, no, of course, it's the internet, so of course there's a lot of people hating on the suit, a lot of people loving the suit. I'll be honest, I'm more in the middle. I feel like once we get an actual look at the suit, like I'm sure in the actual movie, it's going to look great. This was just like a rough set photo that one of the crew took on set. So like, of course it's going to look a little different. And I don't know, I did just want to talk about it briefly. I don't love all of it. So in the photo, it looks like David Corenswet Superman is sitting in his apartment, and it looks like there's some big battle or some invasion or something happening outside, out his window, and he's putting on his Superman suit, and it looks like he's been in a battle. It looks like the top is battle damaged. So the top looks darker than the suit's actually going to look. If you look at the pants, and if you look at the Superman, like, chest shield, the S shield, the logo, whatever you want to call it, that James Gunn dropped a couple months ago, it's very clear this is going to be a brighter, more vibrant blue. Almost kind of reminds me of the shade of blue that Tom Holland's Spider-Man had in his first, like, upgraded Tony Stark suit. And yeah, so I really like the colors. I like the vibrant blue. I do like the collar. Like, it's not, I don't think it's as crazy as some people are acting like it is. Like, a lot of people are comparing it to New 52. I kind of see the inspiration, but the New 52 collar was much more, like, there. That just looks a little more like, kind of like a turtleneck almost. I really like the cape. The cape looks really long and flowing, and it just looks really good. Great shade of red. I hear that there might be the yellow S symbol on the back of it, which I really, really hope that there is. That would make the suit like 10 times better to me. I really like the Kingdom Come inspired Superman S. I think that looks really cool, and it works a lot better than I thought it would initially. But yeah, it looks great. The boots, I'm on the fence about. Like, I like that I like the shade of red. I think the design is okay. I would have preferred, if they were going to go more modern, I would have preferred something that looked a little more like New 52 inspired boot-wise, but, it's fine. They don't look, I don't love them, but I don't hate them either. Yeah, I mean, there isn't a whole lot else. Like, I think the material for this suit looks pretty good. I like the texture. I honestly like the lines. I think there's maybe a little bit too many lines, like on the shoulders. Like, it looks a little bit busy, but maybe it'll look great in the final product. One last thing I do want to say that I don't love is the way it fits him. Now, I feel like this is going to be fixed mostly in post, but in like the shoulder area, it definitely looks kind of bunchy and loose fitting. And it's just kind of like not what you imagine when you think of a Superman suit. Like, pretty much every other version that I can think of, like from the comics, cartoons, or anything, like, he's got more of a fitted suit. So I feel like they're probably going to, fix that with CGI. Like, they do that a lot in superhero movies and shows, with costumes to make them look more, like the comics. So, yeah, I feel like they'll probably change that and it'll look a little better. And I'm sure also like the way he's bending down makes it look like that as well. I'm sure when he's standing there in like a Superman pose, it'll look good. Oh, also, the elephant in the room, the trunks. You can barely see them in the photo, but they are there, and it looks like I've seen some color adjusted versions of the photo, and it looks like that there is a yellow belt there too, which is awesome. I haven't seen Superman with a yellow belt in a while. Yeah, so I am very, I've never been a huge like anti Trunks or pro Trunks guy. I feel like it just depends on the version. I think in general, like it's really easy to make the Trunks look stupid. So I'm cautiously like okay with Trunks. I will say that it has been a while. Like the only live action version of Superman with the Trunks that we have had since Christopher Reeve is the Brandon Routh, both versions of Brandon Routh, which I guess are kind of the same. I don't know. The Superman Returns Brandon Routh suit and then the Kingdom Come Brandon Routh suit. And one or two of those looked really bad. The Superman Returns one looked like a Speedo. I think the Kingdom Come one looked pretty cool. So if it looks anything kind of like the Kingdom Come, maybe a little more fitted, maybe more like trunks as opposed to underwear, I think it could look really cool and fit the more like modern design of the suit. But like James Gunn said, this is an amalgamation, like a combination of like everything we've seen before and new stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm on board. It definitely wasn't 100% what I expected. I think it's an interesting way to show it off for the first time. Like personally, I would have probably like preferred if he showed like an official image of him like standing there, or even just like a cool like screen test, but with him standing there in a more like heroic pose or something. But the way he's bending down like that, it's kind of a weird way to officially first like give the first official look of the suit because you really don't get to see all of it. And it makes, like the way he's hunched over, it makes it look like less fitted and everything. So I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, overall, like, I like it. I don't dislike it, but I'm not like raving about it like some other people are. But I'm also not like mad that it's not, the Henry Cavill version suit, basically, Looks pretty good. No, like I'm not freaking out either way. So, but anyway, enough about that. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know in the comments what you think of the Superman suit. But let's get into the Five Nights at Freddy's movie with my friends James and Ethan. All right, today I'm joined by my friends Ethan and James. Welcome back to the podcast, guys. I've had you both on at least once before.
Mm-hmm. Hello,
Yeah.
hello.
And
Hello.
today we're talking about Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie. Just came out. By the time this comes out, yeah, it'll be like a little less than 2 weeks, I think. So
Hopefully.
yeah. Yeah, so to start things off, I kind of want to just like ask you guys what your I guess experience with like Five Nights at Freddy was like when you first kind of, became a fan of the franchise, I guess. We can start with
Who's first?
Ethan.
So I got into it pretty much when it first came out. I remember playing the first game on like a really bad laptop with my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
So we've always been a fan of the franchise. We've been a fan right from the first game. We followed it all up to the movie. Yeah, we just the movie got announced a couple of weeks or a couple of months after the game released.
Oh,
It wasn't long.
I forgot
like, between
that it was
the
that
first
long
3
ago.
games. Yeah, it was years. So it's been tossed through so many directors, and we've always been excited for the movie. We've been following the lore. We've been trying to figure things out ourselves.
Right.
So yeah, we've always been like huge fans. I've always collected all the merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably say it's one of my favorite game franchises of all time.
Nice.
I don't know what it is. It might just be from the fact that it was, kicking off when I was so young and I just sort of grew up with it,
Sure.
or it might be the fact that I'm quite into horror as a genre. So
sure, yeah.
I don't know. I've always enjoyed the games. I've always thought they've had something different about them, but they're all quite similar in a way.
Right.
I think the storyline in the games, even though it's quite convoluted, it's really, really interesting. It's fun to follow. If you followed it from the start, I think you'll find it a lot easier. Whereas
Right.
I've recently started to get my girlfriend into it, and she's picking things up every now and again. But
yeah, it's like a huge info dump if you try to just like,
yeah,
like here's all the lore.
Yeah, there's a video on YouTube that I made her watch. It was like 8.5 hours long.
Jesus.
That is a
Just
good video.
and
Yeah.
even then, that was quite outdated. So I was like
Oh,
pausing the video in between
you're
correcting
like, well,
things that have been solved.
actually,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Right.
but yeah, I've always loved the games,
Yeah.
and honestly, I can't believe still it doesn't feel like the film came out.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like I'm waiting for it.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's crazy how
yeah,
long it took for it to come out. I kind of forgot that it was that long ago, but it kind of felt like it wasn't going to come out for a long time. And then when it was like officially
yeah,
announced at like
yeah,
Blumhouse, I was like, "Oh, damn, they're actually making this."
yeah. Because I think it was Warner Bros. That had the rights to it
Oh,
originally,
okay.
and then Blumhouse acquired the rights to it.
Right.
So they've been working on it for a few years, and then somehow they've got it filmed, edited, and released within a year. They started in February
Yeah, yeah,
filming.
that's kind of crazy, honestly, the turnaround for that. I wasn't expecting that.
No, I was expecting maybe like 2025 early
Right.
release. Yeah, getting it in the same year was crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, James, I know you're super into the lore and stuff, but like I'm trying to remember like when did we really start just like talking about like FNAF so much? It was only like the last few
So
years, wasn't it?
I'd probably say early 2015
Mm-hmm.
was when I first started getting into it.
Right.
It was like when the fourth game came out. I
Okay.
remember watching videos of like the gameplay on YouTube
Yeah,
when
yeah.
that first came out, and I got really intrigued by the lore, and I watched
Mm-hmm.
a lot of game theory videos and stuff like that. And then for me personally, it kind of fell off the radar for probably a couple years.
Sure.
Um, and then probably within maybe like during like the pandemic and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
I probably started picking back up onto it,
Okay.
watching more videos. Cause once I forget when the pizza simulator came out, like maybe that was like 2017 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that one
Yeah,
gives
that
more of
sounds
like
about
a
right.
yeah something like that. It's like gives more of a definite ending
Came it
kind
came
of
out in December
It
2017.
wasn't okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
so like once it was kind of hard like putting the stuff together when
Well, yeah,
when you
right.
were when I was younger
Yeah.
and when it was
yeah,
all coming out. So I was just like, man, this is too hard to think about.
Right.
And then when I started back into it, I was like, oh hey, there's actually kind of a story here.
Well,
So I
yeah.
started watching more videos and
yeah,
stuff, playing more of the games, and it was a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot more interesting and like engaging for me
Sure.
personally
Yeah.
to actually watch and listen and play through all the lore and everything because that's my favorite part about it. You know, the games are fun, but the
Mm-hmm.
lore is I
Right.
really
yeah.
I mean,
enjoy it.
without
I
the
think
lore, it wouldn't be as interesting.
It would, yeah, it
no,
wouldn't be as
I
good.
think like we came for the games and stayed for the lore sort of thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because the original concept's really interesting, but like nobody thought it was gonna spawn so much lore
no,
and so many
no,
No,
sequels.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of crazy, and then it just got more and more interesting as more games came out.
yeah,
Kind of cool. Yeah, for me, I'm definitely less connected than you guys, I'd say, but like I was definitely really aware of the game when it came out. I know I played one of them like on my iPad or like my iPhone or
yeah.
something at one point.
There's
Um,
ports.
but I watched a lot of gameplay by like Markiplier and PewDiePie and stuff. You know, like all the really popular YouTubers who were playing it when it first
yeah,
came out, and then I know I watched some gameplay. It must have been around like when the third one came out because I remember watching Markiplier and he was like going through some of the lore, like he was going through like the game where some of the lore was actually being shown and
yeah,
kind of
Yeah,
stuff. So I definitely picked up on some of the main stuff, like you know the kids being murdered by William Afton and possessing the animatronics, all that stuff. But it wasn't really
yeah,
until like the last year when the movie was announced and everything that like you James were kind of like
hmm
you and some of the other guys watched a lot of the lore videos and like had me
yeah.
watch
We
some of
kind of
them
just
too. Yeah.
forced you to watch
Yeah.
them,
Kind of know, but
and
it's
now it's kind of like an unwilling participant,
I
but now
mean,
it's a little bit willing.
kind. I mean, I was like, man, I'm not watching a whole like 2 hour
To
video on this
to it.
shit.
yeah,
But and then that's one of the shorter videos. So yeah, but it was pretty interesting. So I'm definitely like more up on the lore, and it is very interesting. And yeah, it
yeah.
was less of a being full forced to get into it kind of thing. um,
hmm
Yeah, I think it's good that you sort of picked up on the lore like recently though, because
mhm.
even though not too much of it was in the movie, I think if you went into it knowing nothing, as we've seen by the reviews, you're not gonna really mess with the movie as much.
Yeah, it was definitely made for people that are familiar with the games.
Yeah,
That's for sure. There's definitely a lot you wouldn't get out of it if you didn't know anything going in.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I think just to like kind of start talking about specifically the movie, what are your guys' just kind of general thoughts on the movie? And then we'll get more into like breaking it down more in depth.
Um,
I I personally think, and I know that like quite a lot of people have major issues with it.
Yeah,
I can think of maybe one to two like things that I would really change about it.
sure.
But other than that, like out of everything that the fans wanted for the movie, I think it delivered a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to also think that with a PG, well, over here it was rated 15, but I think over there was PG 13.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so over here it was a little bit more. I don't know. It was rated higher, but
Okay.
I think you could have achieved a lot more with an R rating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
for
for what
sure.
it is, as like a long in development,
Mm-hmm.
huge franchise movie that's rated so like young in a
Yeah.
way, I think you can't really ask for too much. And out of what
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yeah.
expecting from what you know from like the games and from the rating and from
Yeah. Right.
rumors and everything like that, the cast, I think it delivers massively.
Yeah.
Whereas the people that haven't followed the games and people that were expecting a higher rating aren't going to be too happy with it, I don't think.
Sure.
But I think if you look at it from a standpoint of, okay, it's rated PG 13, it's been in development for years, it's finally coming out, I know all the lore, and then you watch it, you're going to enjoy the movie a lot more. And that's
Mm-hmm.
personally how I looked at it. Because I had my hopes up for an R-rated film,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't. I was like, yeah, it probably won't happen. So I didn't get my hopes up
Right.
too high.
Yeah.
But
Especially
I
considering the
think it,
games aren't like they
yeah,
don't really show much. You know, it's like an
No.
no,
And
intense
if it
because of the
does, it's
themes.
pixelated.
Well, yeah, okay,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
I get why they didn't go for an R rating, especially considering I'm sure they're probably. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I could have worked either way because I feel like most of the
yeah.
people who were into it at the beginning are older now. You know, to see they're old enough to see an R
Definitely.
rated. But
Yes,
at
that's what I was
the
wondering.
same time, I'm not sure it would have made as much money
I don't think
necessarily
so.
if it was R, because it did make a decent.
Yeah, this made money.
Yeah,
Right
right,
now, it's at 200 million
right.
globally.
Which is a lot for what, like a $20 million
Yeah.
budget.
I mean,
Yeah,
they've
Yeah,
made a fucking
yeah.
landslide victory on the
Like
movie.
the producer Jason Blum, before the movie even came out, said they already made their money back just on like distribution
like
rights and
sales and
stuff.
distribution.
Yeah, right. So yeah. So they're kind of making a killing with this. So even though it's
And
gotten
also,
like
you got to
bad
think
reviews, it's
merchandise.
like they don't care. No, right. Yeah, the merchandise too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm guessing Funko are going to make
Oh,
pops of
I'm sure.
Oh,
the
yeah.
movie versions and everything, so that's going to
Absolutely.
make decent money.
Yeah. I mean, there's already been a bunch of merch from the game, so like I'm sure there's
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah,
even like
I mean,
way
like
more with
pizza
the movie.
boxes,
Pizza box.
Right. Yeah.
prime example.
Yeah.
Um, I guess for me, with my experience with it, um, I usually rate movies more harshly,
Sure. Yeah.
and I gave it 2 ratings. I did it as a FNAF fan, and I did it as a non-fan. And as a non-fan, I gave it like a good, probably like a good 6.5, where it's not the best movie I've ever seen. It's definitely got some issues.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
It's
as a
definitely
fan,
got some
I
plot
gave
holes
it
and
like
stuff, but yeah.
I gave it a high 7 and 8
Yeah, right.
because
As a fan, it's like,
as a
yeah,
fan, it was so enjoyable to
mhm,
watch, and there are some glaring things that I'm like, I don't really like that, but
yeah,
as a fan, I enjoyed it wholeheartedly, and anything that's in it that I don't like, I kind of overlooked it
sure, yeah,
yeah.
because
yeah, same,
I loved watching everything in it so much. It
yeah,
was so much fun just to watch. So I give it an 8 as a fan,
mhm,
which that's the rating I would give it. But if anybody asked me that isn't a fan, I'd probably say, it's an okay movie. It's like a 6.5. You might
right,
like it, you
Yeah,
might not. You might get lost. Ah,
right,
it's it's kind of like they made it so accessible, kind of with the
yeah,
PG-13 rating, they're trying to bring in a wider audience.
mhm,
They adapted the story a little bit differently.
Yeah.
To kind of bring in audiences that have no idea what's going on.
Right.
Like I've talked to some of my friends that really don't know much about the series or anything, and they watched it at my request, and they said, "Well, it's okay, it's not great, but I've seen better, I've seen worse."
Yeah.
And that's just kind of what I think. That was the best hope that you could get out of this movie for a non-fan that would just watch it. Oh,
Mhm.
hey, this movie looks interesting. It's streaming on Peacock or whatever. I'm gonna go watch that.
Right.
And I feel like as a horror, quotation marks, horror movie,
Mhm.
it succeeds in being an enjoyable film.
Mhm.
That's just kind of it. It's
Yeah.
an enjoyable film for the non-fan, and for the fan, it's very, very fun time to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, is that like I can't think of many more things that I would have wanted in this first film.
Mhm.
To say it's starting off the franchise of films and it's been in development, so there's more things over the years that people have wanted in the film.
Mhm.
I think that's where you've got to
Yeah.
take a step back and think,
'Cause-
oh, we've got it now,
Yeah.
and it's got everything that we wanted in it, so there's nothing we can really complain about.
And I was
Unless
expecting
it's-
it to be way worse.
Yeah.
Going through development hell and changing directors,
Yeah.
3 times. They scrapped so many scripts and everything. I was expecting it to be a lot worse
Yeah.
written. The acting not so great, but
Yeah.
it delivered a lot more than I thought it would,
Mhm.
and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, it went through like 16, was it 16 directors and 8 scripts, or
Jeez.
the other way around?
That's
Or it was
Well,
like 16 scripts and 8 directors.
that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anything else that have had that
Right.
as like a movie. No film has been rewritten, I don't think, that many
Probably
times
not.
and been passed through so many directors. Off the top of my head, there probably is, but
Yeah, I mean, not very many though. The movie ended up turning out way better than it honestly had any right to be.
Yeah.
Considering the development hell and just like how many games and how crazy the lore is, and yeah, just all the stuff they had to tackle. They honestly did a pretty good job, all things considered. Yeah, there was a lot of different directors here. Apparently Chris Columbus was gonna be
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
director at one
remember
Yeah.
point. Interesting. Oh yeah, and there's that novel trilogy. Is that even like
It's
canon?
non-canon.
Okay?
Yeah,
Some
so
of it is, some of it's
it's
not.
like they were written in I can't speak. They were written in an alternate universe,
Oh,
but
Yeah.
it sort of reveals things that the games don't. So
okay.
I don't
It
know if
is,
I can
but
speak
it
about
isn't.
this
It's,
as like a spoiler thing.
Yeah.
But in one of the most recent books, so in the fourth game, as far as we were concerned before, you were just living through nightmares through like a dream, and then it got like retconned 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then the most recent book revealed that it was a hallucination gas with mannequins in hallways.
Oh, what the hell?
So it sort of reveals things about the games
that aren't really.
you don't find out.
It's
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it uses like different characters and stuff like that to
okay.
hint at it. So that's where the name William Afton came from, because it's never said in the games, but it was just picked up
Right.
from the books and this thing.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was always kind of wondering where that name came from because it was never really said in the games as far as
Yeah.
I knew. Okay.
No.
Yeah, so I guess
But yeah.
I guess the director Emma Tammy didn't actually come on to the movie until last October.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was only a year. Wow, yeah, that is quite a turnaround.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how good it turned
Yeah.
out for how like hastily they put it together.
Right. I mean, it probably helped that they've been developing it so long, so they kind of already had the knew kind of what they wanted to do by the time she signed on. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So for me, yeah, I mean, it was pretty much like kind of like an event film for us as a friend group going into it. Like there was a lot of anticipation for it, and it was just so fun going to see it. In yeah, kind of like you, James. I kind of have 2 different ratings when it comes to just objectively as a film as opposed to watching it as a fan. And I feel like I kind of go in the middle instead of having 2 ratings. So I'd probably give it like a 7-ish.
Yeah.
Kind of blending, because I think as a fan, it's just a really fun experience. They do a lot more stuff with it than you expect. There's a lot more from the games than I expected.
Yeah.
There's definitely changes, definitely stuff that could have been better. But I feel like that as a fan and being, just knowing stuff about the games, I feel like that pales in comparison to just the the fun experience of the movie. But I think if you don't know anything about the games and you're just looking at it as a movie, it's definitely not the best movie ever, but it's definitely not as bad as a lot of people are trying to say it is. Like
Yeah.
No way.
like I was seeing like that there's that IGN review. Like I think that they gave freaking like that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey like a similar rating, and it's like I know without even seeing that movie that it's not like the quality isn't even close to.
And
with
I'll tell you, it's not as good as this.
No, yeah, I didn't. So yeah, I don't know what.
I think it was
they're
fun.
smoking.
It was fun, but it was not a
It
good
was a bad
movie.
movie.
It looks really
movie.
dumb, but like it's kind
I
of
think
supposed
the
to be.
concept of it was so outrageous that you can't take it seriously, and if you go into it not taking it seriously, you're fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's I guess start talking more in depth about some of the elements of the movie. So, think like the characters, they definitely changed a few of the characters, like Mike.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about the changes from the lore later, but what did you guys think of the main characters, like Mike, Abby, Vanessa? Spoilers: Matthew Lillard as William Afton. What did you think of the characters and the acting?
As a whole, I think the whole cast did a pretty bang-up job.
Mm-hmm.
The only character that I have a personal problem with is Vanessa's character.
Yeah.
Not that she did a bad job acting.
I think the actress did a good job.
Pretty damn well.
Yeah.
I think everybody in the movie
actor.
did a pretty damn well good job.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was very well acted. The only thing I have wrong with that character is that I don't think it was written very well.
Yeah.
It was very info-dumping.
And kind of inconsistent.
Yeah, it was very like 180 personality, from scene to scene.
Like she goes from being like, "Isn't this the greatest place in the world, or the greatest thing you've ever seen?" to like the next night being like, "Yeah, oh my god, this is awful. You better, like
I will kill you."
Yeah, right? Like I will shoot you if you bring your sister here again.
Yeah,
but she was fine with it. When they were all having a good time.
Yeah.
Then, she got injured.
Right.
And then she's just like, I'm going to murder you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. She was a weird freaking cop.
It was a weird cop, which I think they could have wrote her a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think she needed to have such a big role.
No.
But I think Josh Hutcherson was really good.
Yeah.
And his character, I had no, quarrels with or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think every character in the movie, was pretty well written.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that Matthew Lillard had a little more screen time.
Yeah.
Totally. I think that could have brought up the rating a little bit for me.
Mm-hmm.
Abby did a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't an annoying child.
Yeah, I was definitely expecting that.
I was thinking she was going to be a little bit, high pitched. Squeaky voice the whole movie, but it wasn't that bad. She was actually kind of entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
I think all the human actors did pretty good, and I think all the actors in the suits, they did pretty good job too.
Yeah.
As a whole, I think it was pretty well acted. Not many problems other than Vanessa, and I'm fine.
Even then, it was more the writing.
I think it was more the writing, really, but I could get more into the more issues with it later on once you guys give your opinions.
I think, as for casting, I couldn't think of for like William Afton and Mike. When I think of those characters now, I immediately think of the actors. Like for William Afton, obviously, all he's been is like probably 12 purple pixels on a screen. Like a good 8 years, but now when I see Matthew Lillard, because I've always loved horror, so I've like seen him in Scream, and then I was a kid when I was younger, so I've seen him as like Faggy in Scooby Doo.
Right. Yep.
But now, like, I can't explain it, but just in my mind, he just is William Afton, like perfect. I think he handled the character so well.
Yeah.
The way he plays him is sort of like a quirky, like weird, eccentric career counselor, but like you can kind of tell with the way he acts that he's hiding something because deliveries and lines, he's sort of ambiguous with the way he talks, and he's very careful. But yeah, I can't think of a better person. When it was announced that he was playing Afton, I was like, yep, perfect.
Yeah, same. So
As
same
for
here.
as for Josh Hutcherson, I think he did really good. He did a really good job. I think he wasn't too familiar before the movie, but then once he was cast, he started looking into the lore, watched a lot of game theory, played the games, had a few conversations with Scott about how the character should be played.
Okay.
So I think he had a really good understanding of how the character was in the games, even though, you know, there's a whole lore thing with who he is and
Right.
like what role he plays in the games compared to the movie.
Right.
Because as far as the games are concerned, he's Afton's son, but then in the movie he's not. So it's a whole thing. So I think he's played him more as Mike from the games, as like an Afton, more as Schmidt. So I think if he'd gone with that route, he could have made the character a lot more himself. But I think on face value, as like a synopsis character of being a traumatized guy that's just trying to provide for his sister and get by, I think he did a really good job. You can kind of tell there's I don't know what it is, but like you can kind of see in his eyes that he just looks hurt all the time, and he just looks so done, tired, and exhausted. So I think he handled that really well. I agree with James about Vanessa. I think she was a good character. She was really well casted. If you follow her from the games,
Right.
She's one of the only characters that actually has a face in the series.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I think she was casted really well. I think again her writing could have been a little bit better, but I think she made it work the best she could.
Sure.
So, and especially with her being like a relatively new character to the games, she's sort of able to have a little bit of leeway with how she can be and how she can play the character.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we were saying about the whole, she's really happy, and then she just sort of switches. Again, you could sort of point story beats out and say, well, this is the reason because this happened.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but I think she was handled the best she could as like an actress. She's a good actor. I've seen her in You.
Oh right, yeah.
I think she was in the first season. I think. Yeah, she was great in that. Yeah, I think the main issue is just her writing.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've got Abby, which is for a kid actor. I think she did well.
Yeah.
I've seen a few things online where apparently they tried to make her play Abby as like autistic.
Yeah, I can see that more from the beginning.
Yeah, just like the way that she like, they told her to deliver the lines a certain way and to act a certain way when she's on screen. So like the way she sort of talks when she's talking about the pictures and things like that. So I don't know. I don't think we saw enough of her, even though we did see a lot, to get an idea of what kind of person she is. Because all we know from like the end of the movie is that she can see these kids.
Yeah.
And like no one else can see them.
Yeah.
And it's all blamed on like a mental disorder that she doesn't have.
Right. Yeah.
So I think as the characters develop more, it's going to be a lot more interesting to see how they handle her.
Yeah.
But from the first one, I think she was fine.
Yeah.
I think it'd better to sort of get to know her a little bit more because I feel like we know more about Mike's brother than we did about her. As like,
yeah, that's fair. Well, yeah, well, like we don't even really know like when. I mean, we can guess, but like she just sort of showed up. There was no really mention of like when they had her. I mean, it was obviously after Garrett was taken, but there was she just sort of existed. You know, there was like no mention of.
Yeah. I think overall the casting was, in my opinion, probably the best they could have done.
Yeah.
Like I said, whenever I think of like Mike Schmidt now, even though he's had like little sprites in the games over the years, and William has had like sprites in the 8-bit games, I think whenever I think of him, I just think of Matthew Lillard, Josh Hutcherson, and Elizabeth Sale now with Vanessa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they were really well casted. The acting was pretty good overall. Yeah, the only issue really was screen time with Lillard. I think he just sort of showed up at the start. I think it was like 10 minutes into the film.
Yeah.
He had like 8 minutes of screen time and then disappeared.
Yeah, until the very end.
Yeah, and that was my main thing, is that I really wanted so much more screen time with him because just the way he was in the trailers and the way he spoke in the trailers, I was like, I want more of that. But I think they should have definitely given him a little bit more screen time. But again, I think he's going to get more over of the franchise
Yeah, I would
Mhm.
with
think
like
so.
a second and
Yeah.
third.
I think Mike and Abby had a lot more depth and development than I expected. For
Yeah.
a movie like this, which I honestly feel like makes it a better movie, because I feel like most horror movies don't seem to care that much about their main character actually feeling like a real character.
No.
Except, you know, like, and when they do give them a backstory, it's kind of flimsy and not really mentioned. So I think they did a pretty good job with that. I think also Aunt Jane was kind of a weird character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true.
You know, kind of like the reason that she wanted Abby didn't make a whole lot of sense because, you know, she seemed like she was well off financially, but then apparently she needed Abby for the, like, you know,
Yeah.
money from the state. Like, that didn't make a whole lot of sense, and she didn't really get to do much. She was just
I think
Yeah.
sort of
that whole
there.
character and that whole storyline was filled with plot holes, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
for
think it was a
sure.
little bit of a waste of time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
feel
it's
like
precious screen time.
it didn't really need to be in there, honestly. Like, the movie wouldn't have changed that much. The only reason, I think, the
No.
only thing that would have significantly changed is there wouldn't have been like murder fodder for the animatronics when those guys broke
Yeah.
in, you know. But yeah, and I think Abby, the actress, did a way better job than I expected. Like James already said, I kind of thought she was gonna be a typical annoying like kid that they just kind of added in there to be like, oh well, let's, you know, we got to draw the younger audience, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like pretty much everything. Oh, I think the actor who played Ghost, like the kid who possesses Freddy, I think he
Yeah.
did a surprisingly good job for how little screen time he had. He did a good job
Yeah.
being like a little weirdo, you know, like just being really like
Yeah.
being really kind of eerie and creepy, and you're like, oh, what's up with this? You know,
Yeah.
I think that really
Yeah.
worked for, you know, a kid who's now a ghost because he was murdered when he, you know, when he was like 6. So I think
Yeah.
that worked really well. But moving on to the special effects, I think the strength of this is that they didn't rely very much on CGI. It was
Yeah.
largely real animatronics and costumes and real sets. And I think that really shows. I feel like a lot of movies, you know, in this genre, especially like low budget horror, when they try to rely a lot on CGI, it's pretty obvious. So I think they made a
Yeah.
good decision by getting the Jim Henson creature shop, to do the animatronics because they look freaking like spot on from the
They're
games.
picture perfect.
Yeah.
They look
Yeah,
amazing.
they use the actual models. I think Scott sent them the actual models, and that's what they
Oh,
used.
well, that makes sense then. Yeah,
Build them.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Which it's cool that that he was so involved with it. I
Yeah.
think that was a big concern for the fans, is that they were totally going to change it, like Aragon, you know, where they just like
Yeah.
get the rights to something and then totally change it because the author or the, you know, creator isn't involved much.
Yeah.
So I feel like probably the reason that it is as good to the fans as it is because he was involved. At least I think he got a large
Yeah.
portion of that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really a whole lot to say about the special effects, because I feel like they were pretty much all good, unless, I don't know, was there anything you guys remember in particular that was particularly good or bad?
I thought everything worked pretty good.
Mhm.
You could definitely tell a little bit when they're in the suits.
Yeah, like the
Like acting
movements a
it.
little bit.
It's just a little bit. You can barely notice it, but
Yeah.
like I think both the animatronics and the suits, they just look picture perfect and they look amazing. And I don't really have anything to complain with too much on that.
Yeah. And I think even though in some respects it's a little annoying the way they didn't show, you know, too much of the actual kills, I think
Yeah.
some of the shots were pretty strategically done, like the shot where the girl gets bit in half.
Yeah, chomped.
Like
Yeah.
that was done very well. Like, I was surprised at how much, like, you know, how obvious it was what happened without being
Yeah.
like technically gory. I think they did a pretty good
Yeah,
job with
my
a couple
jaw
of those
dropped.
shots.
Yeah. I think everybody in the theater was like, "Oh."
Yeah, that was
Yeah, I
the
was
most
not expecting it.
unexpected. Yeah, that was the most unexpected like kill, I think. And I think the makeup, like when they showed the bodies of the people that were killed, I think that all
Yeah.
looked really good.
Mhm.
So like especially that one guy who got his face chewed up by
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr.
They looked all
Cupcake or whatever.
pretty good.
Yeah. The story, definitely a decent amount to talk about this. You know, we kind of mentioned earlier there are some plot holes in it, but at the same time, overall, I think the story itself was pretty interesting. I think even if you're not a fan of the games, I think there's plenty to garner from it. And I think one of the biggest strengths I think this has is that it's kind of unique to like because I'm trying to think is it really kind of takes that creepiness that is at places like Chuck E. Cheese's in real life where the animatronics are just kind of eerie and
Mm-hmm.
and obviously this is from the games but it kind of goes into the movie as well or it applies to the movie as well where you just kind of have these weird the animatronic creature that are supposed to be, fun, but there's obviously like an eerie, creepy element to it, and I think that's kind of unique for the genre. I don't think there's a whole lot of stuff that's exactly like this, besides obviously the rip-offs like Willy's Wonderland.
I just remember, I think it's a Banana Splits movie was the other one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird. I forgot, and that's weird too because that's based off of an already existing franchise from like it was a TV show in the '60s, I think.
Yeah.
It's a little different because I think the Banana Splits are actually just guys in costumes. They're not supposed to be animatronics.
Yeah.
That just I guess start killing people. I don't know.
No.
But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on the story for this movie?
Um, where to start?
Yeah, I know. I know you have a lot to say because we talked about it in Discord like a week ago.
So, I mean, the story itself isn't that bad. I think it's well written because it doesn't feel like an hour and 40-minute movie or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Um,
almost 2 hours. Yeah,
yeah,
it
so
really doesn't feel like that.
pretty well paced. Story's pretty engaging.
Hmm.
Um, I think they spent a long time on Mike's dreams,
Yeah.
and I feel like they could have glossed over it a little bit more,
Hmm.
or at least not spent so damn long,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
5-minute sections, five times throughout
Hmm.
the movie. It's like 20, 30 minutes of just that
Hmm.
throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the way they go with the whole, you know, you get there, you feel the connection with the spirits,
Hmm.
because that'd be a haunted ass place, in
Yeah.
real life. There's a lot of death there,
Yeah.
so it makes sense for what they were going for,
Hmm.
and with Abby having a supernatural connection, it works. Really, I have no qualms with the story, and I
Yeah.
think the only thing I have to complain about is they spent so damn long with the dream sequences,
Hmm.
and it's almost the exact same every time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just him kind of like, "Where's my brother? Where is he?
Yeah.
Where? Show me." Um,
Yeah, they
but
could have
or
cut
at least
out
cut it
one of them or
down a
cut it
little
down.
bit.
Yeah, right.
Just a little bit.
Hmm.
And he was really bullheaded about it, where it's like,
Yeah, he just started
man,
like,
I gotta figure this out in my sleep. And it's like it makes it seem like this has been his life ever since it's happened. I don't know when he started or if he got like reinvigorated at something,
hmm.
like very odd thing to harp on throughout the whole movie.
Hmm.
And I think it could have made for a little bit better of a time to have cut it down a little bit,
Hmm.
but because if you cut that down, then maybe you get a little bit more Matthew Lillard's character.
Mm,
But
Yeah.
we'll
yeah,
never know.
right.
Which
Um,
we won't complain about. Yeah. I think with it being the whole script was written by Scott. So I
Okay.
think that gives it a little bit more of like, I think if it was written by some third party like person,
Yeah, there's like
I think it
three.
would have a lot less heart written
Yeah.
into it. Whereas obviously he knows the answers and he's trying to convey it in as little information as possible.
Hmm.
I've also noticed that this film was based a lot off of the first set of books.
that he released.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I agree with James that the dream sequences were dwelled on quite a lot. I don't think there needed to be 3 because
No.
again they were very similar each time. He just got a little bit further in the dream.
Right.
I think as for my biggest issue with it as like a whole is it didn't focus too much on the actual games or as the actual gameplay, which was
Right.
one thing that I noticed when they revealed like what the office looked like was that it didn't have like the huge doors and the lights, which I know would have been quite difficult to translate with the whole like logic of it.
Right.
But I think it was something that no one would have complained about.
Sure.
Because it's such a core fundamental thing from the games.
Yeah.
Like, would it have hurt to put a scene in maybe where he's watching the cameras and they're all moving and he has to like shut because I noticed that they had like metal doors and I don't know if they were like machine operated because in the scene where I don't know if you remember the scene where they broke in and the guy gets killed by Foxy because he was originally in the office. Then I think he did more from the games than Mike did.
Right.
Yeah. He was in the office, looked at the cameras, and they're all moving.
And he closed the vent like in the second game.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. He closed the vent and then runs out, and the door like locks. So I don't know if it was like a machine door, like from the games, but it was just in like the shape of a normal door. Because the door shuts and then Foxy runs down the hall.
Yeah.
Which I guess was a good way to work it in, but I just wish it was Mike that was actually doing that.
Yeah.
I think, like I was saying, I think it just focuses a little too much on the dreams. And I'm glad that they dive so far into his character because, again, like you don't know much about him in the games. And if they're telling a new story where he isn't Michael Afton, you kind of want to know as much as you can about him. But I think we know enough about him to the point where we kind of have the answers that we want, but then we don't know enough about him to the point where we want to know more about like, well, what's next? What happened in the time between this game or this movie and the next movie? Yeah, I think the story was decent. It does copy a lot from the first game, from the first book, sorry. Which I wasn't expecting. I was definitely expecting it to be a lot more like the first game because that's what they were heavily hinting at in like interviews, even though there weren't too many, and like public speaking that they'd done for the film. It said that it was going to be a lot like the games, and people that were fan of the first game would enjoy it. I don't think there were too many aspects of it, which is probably my biggest issue with the story, other than the dream. But I think working the characters into it, they did that pretty well with like, because I thought that the break-in scene was going to be the opening scene, because then it gives like Mike a reason, and it gives her a reason to need a security guard.
Right.
Whereas there's that one scene with Lillard where he's just saying, "Yeah, we've had problems with break-ins over the years," and that's kind of the reason.
Yeah.
I think opening with that bandit scene would have helped a lot more with giving Mike a reason to like have a job. Freddy's.
I felt that was a little bit thin, like why they really needed a security guard. He was just sort of like, well, the owner is nostalgic and wants to keep it going, but it's like, well, why do you need a security guard?
Because I think from like the character's point of view of it being, because by the end of the movie you realise that Afton's keeping it open because he's getting people to work there and then killing them. His motive in the film isn't really discussed much.
It's true.
It's talked about.
It's just
but I'll get into that later.
Sort of
I'm assuming we're going to talk about how it's different from the lore later. But yeah, I think the issues that it has, it kind of makes up for with being a new story, because I'm sure James knows that one thing about the storyline in the games is it's never a straight answer. You kind of have to figure it out. And it's never what you think.
Right. Well, there isn't really any like traditional cutscenes. It's like 8-bit videos, and like a lot of the lore seems to come from people speculating on just like voice lines from different characters, So, it's definitely not super straightforward.
No, working the characters into it, they did well again, with like William Afton being this career counselor that's using a pseudonym for like.
But like, why was he even doing that? They never really.
No, I had a theory that it was because again, I'm assuming we're going to talk more about like the actual story beats and what happens later. But there's that scene where at the end, Afton's yelling at Vanessa and he's saying, "Help me clean up the mess that you created." So that could both be at like the whole, you told Mike and you helped him out, but it could also be that like she's the reason that he killed the kids in the first. Because in the games it delves into it, but I think in the movie there's certain aspects from the games that just aren't in there. So
yeah,
it shuts out reasons for him to be a killer. Because in the games it's like,
right.
Well, his partner's machines failed, so he killed his partner's daughter. And then he realizes that he enjoys killing, so he takes his anger out and gives his partner's name, his restaurant, a bad name. Whereas in the movie, he just sort of kills for the sake of it, I think.
Yeah.
So that's why I was trying to find a reason for it. And the best thing I could come up with was that maybe Vanessa was bullied when she was young, and so he killed the kids or something like that.
Yeah.
But I hope they discuss that more.
They have to, or else it's like, what's the point? I think there's some theories too that like, because of like, the bite of '83, when his kid died and like he figured out at some point that his kid possessed the golden Freddy, like the Fredbear animatronic, and like there's some theories that he started killing kids to figure out like what was going on with the animatronics and why the kids, their souls possess the animatronics and stuff like that. There's a lot. Yeah, that's the thing. There's just a lot of theories and not a lot of straight answers. And I feel like even the creator hasn't like come forward saying like, oh, this is what it is,
Yeah.
And with the movie, it's like they didn't really answer any questions, which kind of sucks. They kind of just kept on. This was like a, they just used what we already knew, kind of. Like, hey, this is the character, this is him doing the thing he does.
Yeah.
But, they don't do anything with it.
No.
It's like,
I kind of wish they had, but I feel like they were kind of damned if they did, damned if they didn't. Because I feel like if they, it gave specific answers, then it would contradict some of the lore and fans would be pissed off. But then if they just kind of like didn't specifically say like they actually went and did and just kind of didn't give a whole lot of straight answers, then it kind of still makes people kind of mad,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, I think a big thing with the story is it feels maybe a little, I wouldn't say out of order, but I feel like there are some quote unquote mysteries that are kind of obvious. I feel like maybe if they had like changed the way some things unfolded, it would have been more like there are just some reveals that they seem to think are, big reveals that nobody was expecting. But even if you didn't know the lore, I feel like they were already kind of obvious and weren't really mysteries, So I feel like some of that either written differently or the movie itself could have been edited a little differently where things weren't as obvious, because they definitely seem to want to make it kind of mysterious in a lot of ways, like what the animatronics were and who the killer was, all that stuff. And I feel like some of it, they just revealed, I think, too much for it to be a mystery at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this kind of segues into talking about the lore, a lot of the changes this movie made from the lore, which honestly, not as many as I expected. They kept more stuff the same than I expected, but they definitely made a lot of changes as well. I think probably one of the biggest changes is Mike's character. In the games, he was very strongly suggested, if not just downright said, that he was Michael Afton, William Afton's son, and Mike Schmidt was just a pseudonym for when he got the job as the security guard. And this Vanessa is William Afton's kid instead. And they never even they definitely have room to retcon this going forward, but they never really mention if he has more kids. Whereas in the games, it seems like Afton has 3 kids?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are big changes. And then it feels like they kind of took the first, like, it feels like they took elements from the first 3 games and apparently from the first novel and kind of crammed them all into one mishmash. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of begs the question, like, how are they going to adapt more of the story going forward?
It's not terrible
Mm-hmm.
because I think the outcome of Michael Afton and Mike Schmidt, they kind of have the same outcome.
Yeah, he doesn't really need to
right
be his
now.
son.
He doesn't need to be his
But
son.
it would have
in
been
this
cool if they did
universe.
that, I guess.
It would have been cool. I think it would have added a lot more to the character. It would have added it's a better
But
background,
also,
and it's a lot more like personal.
it would have changed so much, so it's hard to say how it would
Yeah.
have turned out, because
Yeah.
like then you get rid of Garrett, his brother, you get rid of his whole
and Abby.
Abby.
It's all different.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
have been a completely different movie.
Which I'm 100% fine with them being different characters because, like I said, they kind of have the same outcome.
Yeah.
Where, well, Michael Afton, he doesn't like his dad, and he wants to stop him, blah blah blah, find out what's wrong with him, blah blah blah. He's taking all the security jobs.
Yeah.
Doing what Mike Schmidt kind of. I hope
he still has a
with
personal connection because Afton killed his brother.
The connection with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like they kind of have the same outcome out of this movie, where they know he's a bad guy. He's maybe dead or whatever. And later on when they do more with the later games, he can act as Michael Afton. Even though they're different characters.
That's true. Yeah, that would be an interesting twist. Like, instead, Michael
they could serve
Afton,
the same purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, they've took elements from every game and put it in, because obviously Vanessa only
she's from Security Breach,
introduced like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then obviously they've got like the gameplay, and they've based the location off the first game. Balloon Boy from the second game's in there.
Yeah.
And then the whole Springlock scene from the third game. So it's like they've mashed everything together, and then took heavy inspiration from the books, because there's so many things, like the scene where Abby's hiding from Foxy ripped straight from the books.
Oh, okay.
In the arcade. It's straight from the books. There's so many scenes like that. But I think lore-wise, I've had a theory that Mike Schmidt in the film is supposed to be the game's version of Henry Emily's child. So if you don't know the lore, it's like William Afton and Henry Emily were like best friends when Afton moved to the United States in the games, because he was originally British.
Oh, okay.
And so he moved to the US, and then he made a friend called Henry Emily. And they started a business called Fazbear Entertainment. And then, so William was like the costume designer, and then Henry was the sort of robotic guy. So he did all the animatronics and the machinery. And the story goes that William Afton's kid was killed by one of the robots because Michael Afton put the kid in the robot's mouth, and that's how he possesses Golden Freddy.
Yeah.
If we were following that from the movie's perspective, that means the little blonde kid would have been Afton's son, which I guess kind of makes sense as to why he's listening to Afton in the first place, but that's then debunked with the whole picture theory that the film talks about. So I've had a theory that Michael Schmidt in the films is Henry Emily's kid, because then it gives a lot more reasons. So in the games, the puppet is possessed by Henry I can't say his name. Henry Emily's daughter, Charlotte.
Right.
And so she was the first one to be killed of any kid in the games, which would then line up with Garrett being the first one to be killed in the movie. Because I think
they never come right out and say that, but I feel like that would make sense if Garrett was this first kill, or at least one of them, because as far as we know, Garrett didn't possess any of the animatronics, so...
Yeah, they haven't really gone into that.
So either they haven't revealed who he's, like what animatronic he is, possessing, or he isn't, and William Afton hadn't gotten around to, stuffing the kids in the animatronic yet,
Yeah, but I think because in the credits as well, did you stay for the credits, like right to the end?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there was the whole like "come find me" thing
just after the Puppets music box played, which I was saying, like in the theater, I was saying that's Garrett as the puppet saying to Mike, "Come find me," and then that sets up a second film where
that would be pretty agreeable with me.
Yeah, that would
it
be
would use the
interesting.
character they've already set up in the movie instead of having to reintroduce a new character to play a new character.
Yeah.
It's better to use things that are already introduced. You don't have to keep on going over and wasting screen time when you have such a limited them. Because that's my biggest issue with the movie itself as itself is okay. But fitting into the whole realm of Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm wondering where in the hell are they going to fit all of this story into 3 movies if they do 3.
Right.
Because I looked up Matthew Lillard. He said earlier this year that he signed a 3-film contract.
Yeah.
So they have 3 films, presumably, to fit in all of this, story, characters.
Yeah.
And I think, personally, they're going to have to skip a lot, or they're just going to have to rip these characters out and not even talk about them.
Yeah.
Because, like, they need at least one prequel movie, and then they're going to need a whole sequel movie. Because I think the smart thing to do would be to make your prequel first.
Yeah.
And then make the sequel second. And then you could introduce all of these, hopefully, 2-hour-long movie, introduce all of these new characters, Henry, Emily, all the kids, everything like that, all the new animatronics that need to be in it for them to finish the movie in the 3rd movie,
Yeah.
It's just, there's so much information that's left off, and it's, like, going to be super hard for them to actually squeeze it into 3 movies.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they're probably going to do.
I mean,
it's probably going to make me angry.
They always could do more, because, I mean, just because he signed on for 3 doesn't mean they don't make more.
Be, but it's like, I feel like they're going to, that's a good point. But also, like,
they'll probably try to just do it with 3.
They're probably going to try to do it with 3, round it off, and then they'll do, like, they'll make another franchise, because this franchise is going to make so much money.
Oh yeah,
it's one of the biggest earners from Blumhouse.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
definitely.
they're gonna milk it to its dry. And with all horror franchises, they don't stop unless they lose the rights.
Right, exactly.
So they're gonna fucking milk this thing into the ground until it's dead.
Yeah, which is
So I want these first 3 movies to be pristine, and I don't know if we're gonna get that with how much story they're missing and how much time that they have left.
Yeah,
because there are so many characters that need to be introduced.
Oh my god, yeah, there's so many animatronics and characters.
There's so many animatronics, and like the 6th game, Sister Location. That's a big.
Oh my god, yeah.
That's a big.
I feel like that's got to be
game.
The inspiration.
And that's like
for the
a whole
one.
damn movie. Like it's a whole damn movie,
Yeah, that's kind of the finale in a lot of ways. So
yeah, and then you got like the pizza simulator, like the end of that with like the whole like cutscene and like Henry, Emily talking. It's like
that's probably my favorite part of the game.
That is the best part of the game, and it's so well acted and voice acted.
Such a badass speech.
It's so great, and it's like. They have to adapt.
They have to do something
like that. Is like the perfect ending to this.
Absolutely.
Ending. To
but it would have no weight if they don't introduce. It would
earlier. If they just start if they just continue off of this movie and then they where does all these characters come from, like Lefty and Scrap Baby and all of these characters. Where are they coming from? You have to set them up first.
Yeah.
And it's just there's so much.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm really, really worried, but also at the same time, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing the next movie.
Right. I feel like
you could pump them out. You could probably do one next year, then the year after. The way this
I hope they take their time a little bit and don't just do that.
Rush it just for the sake of it.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And I kind of feel like for the sequels. They either have to do what you said, like have a prequel movie and then
it's the only way.
A sequel, or they can kind of split it. Like they have the next movie is a sequel, but there's a significant amount of like flashbacks and stuff. And then they do that for 2 and 3, where it's like a sequel, but also they like show a lot of flashbacks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they've got to do like the stuff that happened in like the 80s and everything, or else it doesn't make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They gotta really know
Mhm.
how to write the movie well,
Mhm.
so they're not wasting any time.
Yeah.
Because you can't have any 30-minute dream sequences to fill up an hour and a half movie.
Yeah, they've got to be a lot more conservative with their use of screen time and stuff in the next movies.
Yeah.
If
think
they're
then-
gonna adapt enough of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When Lillard said that he signed a 3-picture deal, I was thinking, like, everyone was thinking, right, first game, second game, third game.
Right.
Trilogy
Yeah.
ends with him getting spring locked.
Mhm.
Then we've got a chance for, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Or it could have been like a super prequel where it goes back to the 80s, because obviously
Mm-hmm.
FNAF 3 takes place in 2023.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
it would have
that's
gone
right.
to the 80s. But then you could have also done it. If you do it straight from the games, you can't have this first film. Because
Yeah,
No,
it's
definitely
so
not. Yeah.
it's so hugely different from the games.
Yes.
Yeah, because they took elements from every single game, mainly
Yeah.
from
Which-
one, and they just kind of squished together.
I
together. It's like, it's
understand
okay.
because it's sort of just an introductory film. I think it makes more sense to do that if they were just making this and weren't sure if they're going to make sequels. But considering they have plans for sequels, they probably could have planned it out a little better.
Yeah, because it's like they were thinking it was gonna fail before it even released.
Right, or at least they would only have maybe one, maybe two.
Yeah.
But considering they have a trilogy in the works, I'm really
Yeah.
curious / puzzled. The way they've
That's a
set up
good
the
word,
story.
puzzled.
Yeah,
Puzzled is a good
Yeah.
word for it. I'm just kind of
Yeah.
questionable. I'm like, what are they gonna do?
yeah, right. I feel like they are going to do a lot of changes, kind of like they did with this. Change a lot, add some stuff, take out some stuff,
As
but
long as
adapt
it's
some stuff.
okay and it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anything that's just like, hey, we changed this. We're
Yeah.
not giving you any reason why.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
screw yourself.
I'd kind of be
know?
okay with them not really adapting the whole Ennard thing where it like possesses Mike's body somehow,
Yeah.
because that doesn't make any damn sense.
No, but then you've also got like Remnant, where it's like this kids' souls and
Right.
Fazgu's a word in the games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I think
so
having a character in live action say the word Fazgu would be like,
Right.
yeah, it'd be crazy.
Yeah.
there's a lot of things where I'm like, okay, yeah,
Or-
you can leave that out. That's kind of cringy as shit.
Even that whole
But-
like game, like which game is Glitch Trap in?
Oh, that's the
Help
VR.
Wanted VR.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
like
recently.
I'm assuming the
Practically anything after Pizza Simulator, I'm okay
Yeah.
with them just
that
scrapping
was-
everything from
Yeah.
that.
right.
I think if they did it right, and if they like say this version of the movie didn't exist, and they
Mhm.
did it exactly how, so it was like the first game, and then a prequel in the 2nd,
Mhm.
then the third.
Mhm.
Even though it would be very because as far as the games are concerned, you're playing as Mike in every single one, but at different stages.
Mhm.
I think the main reason they changed it so much was because wouldn't you feel kind of like watching the whole game play out, like you already know what's happening?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad that they took like the fan favorite aspects and then changed the ones that like
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
confirmed it's not the same universe as the games. It's not
Well,
made to answer
it
Yeah.
can't be. Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense. It'd
No.
be contradictory to yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
a lot of the reviews from like IGN and blah blah blah. It's like we
Yeah.
wanted to watch the game. And
It's
blah,
like, yeah,
blah,
but
blah.
how do you make
I
a
don't
whole
wanna watch
movie
the game.
off of the
I don't want to
game?
watch
Yeah.
an hour and a half of gameplay.
Yeah, right.
Now-
There's
for an hour.
plenty of
Like,
that on YouTube.
It's kind of like what you said earlier, where it's like I just want a good, good story,
Mhm.
but with nods to the games, like his security
Yeah,
office
exactly.
has 2 windows and 2 doors.
Mhm.
Now those doors can close with normal doors. It's okay, but wouldn't it be cool to have 2 windows and then like he wakes up from his dream sequence and then
Yeah.
she gets to staring at
Yeah,
him through the window
yeah,
like
you
in the
fix
game.
that.
Yeah,
That
there
would
should
be
have been
like
more.
the coolest thing ever.
That's a big thing too. I feel like there should have been more animatronic jump scares. Like
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
only like maybe 2.
the
or
biggest
3.
jump scares were from like Balloon Boy. Like
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe if there was like 1 or 2 shots that felt like they were more directly from the game, when like the animatronics like show up in the office and in your face,
Like Foxy's jump scare running down the hallway. It even has the original sound.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
perfect.
That was really cool.
that was cool. Yeah.
But like all the other animatronics seem very underutilized.
Yeah.
Other than Foxy
Yeah.
and Mr. Cupcake,
Right.
which also like why?
He was a menace.
Yeah, he was.
He was a
He was
menace
on
in the film.
everybody.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he did the most work, and he doesn't even have any legs.
Yeah. It was really
Just sort of hops.
Yeah.
It was definitely a big decision.
Yeah.
I don't know why they made it. Or it's like
No.
we have 4 animatronics. We're only gonna use 1.5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, they'll probably have a slightly bigger budget in the sequel, and we'll probably do more. I feel like it might have been budget stuff. Like it probably.
Not slightly. They're gonna have. It's probably gonna be doubled, maybe tripled. Most likely.
I mean, yeah.
From how much they made.
Even then, it's still a low budget movie.
Yeah.
Like anything under 100 something's pretty
100.
low budget. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy because 100 has kind of become the standard for big budget movies now. Like no matter what it is, it's not just huge blockbusters anymore. It's just kind of anything that isn't, an indie film almost. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But
the second one's really in pre-production.
Yeah.
And they've come out and said, we're listening to you guys. We're fixing everything that you didn't like. So hopefully, like the one scene that even though I didn't like it and I felt like it was very stupid and out of place, the fort scene where they're building the fort in the cafeteria park. That still makes sense because I can defend it because they're just kids that never had a childhood.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like I didn't have that much of a problem with it. Like it was a little bit, like they probably spent too much time on it. I didn't have a huge problem with it. I feel like that was actually one of the best twists of the movie was when they were being nice to Abby. And you're like, oh, I was not expecting this.
And it makes sense. It makes sense. In the games, they're obviously not like that, but also they don't come in contact with children in the game.
Well, in the games,
they're contact with security guards.
In the games, they're kind of stupid. They're just kind of like, oh, well, you're wearing a security guard uniform.
Let me get you.
Yeah, right. I didn't mind, especially by the end. Like there was a more sinister, plot going on. So it wasn't like the twist is that they're actually just nice, and that's the end.
Yeah.
There was more to it. I think they could have. I didn't mention this earlier. I think they could have defined the rules a little bit better for what the hell is going on. Because like for whatever reason they stay in the restaurant, but they show that they can leave. Like Freddy left to get Abby and even took a damn taxi.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like what?
Yeah, that. I think they made the animatronics way too nice, which is the whole issue with it not being scary.
Yeah,
so
it's not a scary movie at all. Like it's horror because William Afton's a serial killer and that kind of stuff. But the animatronics, I wouldn't say they were scary. There were definitely scenes that were kind of cool when they were chasing down people and stuff. That was fun, but there was never a moment where I was like, "Whoa, that's actually legitimately creepy,"
Yeah, I think it was more of like if you just had like a still of them, like that shot of Freddy in the parts and service part where he's just stood there, just before she gets bit. That was a creepy scene, but then I think the way that the animatronics were shown throughout the film was sort of as like these nice like robots. Whereas in the games, they're nothing like that. And I know that, again, they're not adapting the games completely, but that is, again, an aspect that I think they missed out hugely on.
Yeah, they could have done a lot
again,
more.
Again, with them reconsidering the second one again, they said they're listening. I hope they make it a lot scarier.
Yeah.
Even if it means that, like, I can't...
If they...
ideally, I'd in the cinema, but if I'm not old enough by the time it comes out, then, like...
Yeah.
As long as it's scary, so be it.
Yeah, I mean, I think... that one scene where they were all like surrounding William Afton and everything, I think just that was kind of like a good scene showing like them being kind of scary because just the way they were acting were just like, we're gonna kill this motherfucker, But and speaking of that scene, that whole scene was very cool, just having him showing up in the golden Bonnie suit, and it was already kind of starting to deteriorate, so it still looked a bit like Springtrap.
I think that whole scene was like,
that was very cool.
Admittedly, it could have benefited, again, like I said earlier, from a higher rating as a film. I think having that spring lock scene, I've seen a lot of people's issues was that he didn't scream, but like if you follow the law, you know that it punctures your lungs, like you physically can't scream, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
And they were like, it doesn't resemble the games, but in the games it was just like the sprite started shaking and then there was blood on the screen.
Right, I know. So like, it didn't resemble the 8-bit
Yeah.
scene when it's like, okay.
I think that scene, but I was expecting it and I really wanted it, but in the back of my mind, I was saying it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
they won't do it in
same.
the first, and then they did, and I was like,
Yeah.
because when they go into the back and Mike touches the little the Ella doll from that's again from the books, that doll in the back.
Oh, okay. I was
Ripped
wondering
straight
what that
from-
was. Okay.
Yeah, she was straight from the books, like the actual animatronic. And as soon as they showed the spring locks, I was like, yeah, it's happening.
Yeah,
Like
same.
me and my cousin, every time there was something like that, and we just turned to each other and go, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I was a little
Like,
confused from the trailer because they showed they showed him in the yellow suit and it looked like Springtrap. So I was like,
Yeah.
well, how does this work? Is he already Springtrap, or are we going to see him become Springtrap basically? And that is more like what ended up happening. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, but I think like even with like you said, the scene where they're all around him while he's dying, that's a lot like that's what I mean by they've mixed different parts together because, like I said earlier, from the books when they're dragging Afton away while he's dying, that exact thing is a panel from the books.
Oh, okay.
Like even with Foxy like hooking his right shoulder.
Oh,
it's
interesting.
exactly
Okay.
books. And then with them all being around him while he dies, is like in the third game, in the little cutscene where he dies, all the ghost kids are around him, watching him die.
Yeah.
And like he's sort of laughing. His character's head in the game like goes up and down, as if he's laughing. So everyone says like he's taunting the kids. And when he started saying like, "Oh, look how small you are, how weak you are, I made you, you like rotten little beast," that's sort of when you know, yeah, he's gonna get spring locked.
Right. Yeah.
But like, yeah, with them all around him, that was again, I think it's something that you'd have to play the games to just know. Like in the cinema, me and my cousin just knew. Whereas I think like my girlfriend and her brother, because they haven't followed the games for that long, they were sort of like, "Oh yeah, it's pretty cool that they're all watching him die." And then you explain it to them, and they're like, "Oh, it makes sense." Which is that goes back to what I was saying earlier about having like a knowledge of it already.
Yeah,
helps so much.
Yeah, I think too. I found that was an interesting change where they showed in like the beginning opening title sequence and everything. Seems like he's represented as I'm speaking about Afton as like the golden Bonnie instead of the purple man thing.
Yeah. There was a little shot where he's putting the suit on. There's like a little purple.
Oh, I didn't.
Guy
Okay,
putting the suit
that's
on.
cool. I didn't notice that. That's a cool Easter
But
egg.
it looks more blue. To be honest,
Oh, okay,
but you can kind of see that it is purple.
Yeah,
it just looks blue.
Yeah. But I thought that was an interesting change. I mean, and also just the fact that they made it canon to the movie that he killed the kids in the suit, like luring them.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting change. Like, I'm kind of cool either way, you know?
Yeah.
I don't mind it. And another thing I found interesting was that the movie takes place in 2000 for some reason. I'm not really sure why. Like, is there any like specific reason to do that besides the fact that like I guess the third game takes place in 2023? But I mean, if they're gonna do a 23-year time jump, like I don't think Josh Hutcherson's gonna be Mike, you know. So
yeah,
I wonder what the hell that. I don't know if there's any specific
the first
reason.
game takes place in '93. The first game.
Okay.
Like that was figured out back when the first game came out. They used like minimum wage at the time of 1993 to work out what year the game took place.
Yeah.
So I think like the paycheck at the end of the game says like $120 for like the first week, and then it goes up a little bit more with the extra 2 nights. So having it take place a bit further in the future, it's obviously a decision that's been made for a reason.
Yeah.
We just don't know what the reason is yet.
Right.
And also, it's like it doesn't. It's like, you know, oh, he's been in the room for 30 years. It's like, you know, you can make the assumption it's like, oh, he looks like when he comes back out of the room and stuff, like it doesn't need to be a 30-year jump. It could just be like 5, maybe 10 years, you know, something like that, where it's not such a huge timeline jump, you know. Oh, look, yeah, he looks decrepit. He's been, getting pretty decrepit in there. Didn't have to take 30 years to do it. So
Yeah.
I think it's it'll work in their favor. I don't think it'll really matter too much.
No.
No.
The timeline can be squished pretty significantly.
Yeah.
I think the earliest point that we have in the movie is when Garrett gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
Or like in fact, it's when the kids get killed.
Yeah.
But like after that's the first event that takes place.
Yeah.
As far as the movie's concerned. Whereas like the first thing that takes place in the games is like Afton and Henry, with like Henry's daughter being killed by Afton, and then the bite of 83 and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I think it'll work. They've just got to make it work, and if they don't, it's gonna create a lot of issues for them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So apparently in 2018, Scott, what's his face? Scott Cawthon said that if the first film was successful, there would be a second and third film following like the events of the second and third games, but it seems like that's changed significantly.
Yeah,
because
a little bit.
They definitely mashed together a bunch of the games in the first movie. So
I bet the second one will definitely like be heavily inspired by the second game.
Probably, yeah.
Think about it. Like, the first location's been destroyed.
Yeah.
You can have the withered animatronics. You can just make out that they've been destroyed with the whole, because the first location caved in the movie. You can see it like all falling apart as Afton's dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they include like the toys and the wizards in next, because the wizards are such a good design. Like withered Bonnie with no face, Chica with no arms.
Amazing.
And I feel like that would be a lot scarier.
Cool to see live action.
Yeah, it would actually add some horror elements to a horror movie.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they can lean more into the horror with it.
They might do a decent, like if for the sequel, they might do a decent time jump. I don't know how that would work with Abby.
CGI can do a lot.
Yeah, right. And even like a wardrobe change and makeup can change a lot as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of just stumbled upon this little trivia tidbit that's on the IMDb page, but apparently they made a stunt suit for Golden Freddy for the movie, but they never actually used it on set. It was all a puppet, it would just controlled by puppeteers. So nobody actually wore the Golden Freddy suit on set. Kind of.
Yeah, there was in the behind the scenes video with the YouTubers, there was like a whole costume for it.
Right. Yeah, that.
I also saw that in the scene where Vanessa reveals that his name is William Afton, because the whole film he goes by Steve Raglan.
Right.
Which is another thing I was like, I hope they don't call him Steve Raglan, because it's such
that would have sucked.
Iconic name.
Yeah.
Not calling him Afton, and they called him Afton. She shows the picture. The golden Bonnie in that suit was CGI'd in.
Oh, okay.
So they took like a picture of the young Vanessa actor and Afton in the. I think they either took it without the Spring Bonnie suit next to her, and then CGI'd it in, or they took it with the actual withered Spring Bonnie suit and then de-aged it in a way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was one of the two, but yeah, that clean version of the suit doesn't exist, which I thought I couldn't tell.
No, I couldn't either. I mean, it helps that it was such a brief look.
Yeah,
but
and it's only on like a picture.
Yeah, but kind of wrapping things up, I think overall, in a sentence, it was in a lot of ways very pleasing to the fans, while changing a lot. But it's definitely far from a perfect movie. But for what it is, I mean, because for how long fans waited for it, I think they definitely went out of their way to please the fans, and I think that is one of the best parts of the movie, just seeing all this stuff on screen and live action for the first time, and it not being ruined by being too different.
Yeah.
But, yeah, is there any other little things you guys wanted to say before we wrap things up?
I have 3 things. That's it.
God, a whole 3? Goddamn.
These two fall into the same.
Yeah.
My favorite parts were the intro credits.
Yeah.
Those were super epic.
Yeah.
I really liked watching that, where he's like luring away the kids. That was really cool.
Yes.
And then the Springlock scene, that was really badass.
Very good.
I really liked that. Now, one thing that I just remembered that my last topic was, remember when Golden Freddy goes to their house and then he, either knocks out
Yeah.
or like kills
Kills
the
the aunt.
aunt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What in the hell happened?
They
to
they
that?
never circle back to that. I guess they
No,
just
they didn't. It was just like either Aunt Jane is dead or she's knocked out, and then there won't be any charges pressed or anything.
Yeah.
right. I
Like,
mean,
it was a very weird thing to happen.
the ghost kid said like, "Oh, she's sleeping," or
Yeah,
whatever. So
I'm
it's like maybe
how interesting.
maybe Mike just buried her body out in the backyard. I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
weird thing to gloss
there
over.
were definitely plot threads like that were left hanging, and also the guys that she sent to Freddy Fazbear's.
Yeah, it's like where
She like just kind of didn't seem to like she never seemed to wonder like where'd they go.
Where'd they go? Or like
Yeah.
how Vanessa's the worst cop ever and she didn't report a triple homicide.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
quadruple homicide.
you could kind of say, like she was trying to cover it up, for her dad, but I feel like there could have been
Yeah,
a
but damn.
scene like of her actually figuring like working that out, like how she was
Like
gonna
stumbling
cover it
upon
up
it.
instead of
Yeah.
just like never mentioning it.
Yeah.
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 But that's like
That's
that
fair.
was my closing thing where I'm like, ha, that's a little weird.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my favorite scene again. I loved the intro credits. Just the way it was, like the music was awesome. I think the main theme for Five Nights at Freddy's was awesome. Yeah, even like with little Easter eggs in the credits with like him being a purple like character in the scenes.
Yeah.
I loved the scene where I know it was like quite a lot of flat dialogue from. I think it was the most story revealed was when Vanessa was explaining to Mike, like,
Yeah.
it's not just their bodies, it's their souls.
The exposition.
There's a few things that I wanted to say was that, like, I think if you made this movie for the fans, you wouldn't need to explain that. In a
Yeah.
way, I think it's just more a thing for newcomers to watch,
Definitely.
and understand. But then it's sort of, she's like, yeah, they want to make her like them, and then it cuts to Abby and Golden Freddy outside the pizzeria, and like the music and the lights are flickering. That was a really good scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were probably trying to strike a balance between pleasing the fans and, getting the more casual moviegoer audience on board. And I think they definitely leaned more into like pleasing the fans and doing fan servicey stuff. But I feel like there's enough where it's still an enjoyable movie if you're not a fan. Like, obviously the critics hated it, but screw the critics, they shit on everything. But there's been plenty of people I've seen like on YouTube and on social media and stuff that aren't really familiar with the games, but still enjoyed the movie.
I think they definitely catered more towards the fans, than
for sure,
like newer viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if I didn't know anything about the games, I would definitely be kind of confused at some parts.
Yeah. I think it's enough to make you wonder though, and then you like go home and watch game theory
right.
for an hour.
Well, I mean, they do that a lot, like all the time with like book adaptations or comic book adaptations. They have stuff in there that's like very much just for the fans who know the lore, or know the original work, the original story. So I wouldn't say it's like that crazy of a thing to do.
No, there was one more thing I wanted to say about the cameos.
Oh yeah,
and like what you guys thought about how they worked those into the film and everything like that. Like with Matt Pat, I remember because he was going on as if like he wasn't in the film.
Yeah.
He did the whole reaction video and he was like, "Oh, good for them, like they're in it." And so, like, honestly, he had everyone fooled that he wasn't, and he just was.
Yeah.
So that was a cool reveal. I think they worked his character in. I think his role was done, but like even when he says like, "Yeah, it's just a theory," that was done.
That was done very well. Yeah, like I didn't recognize him when they first showed him because they, like his back was to the camera, but as soon as they showed his face, I was like, "Oh shit, it's him!" And then like he said like, "But that's just a theory." Like I feel like that like the theater kind of erupted. At least our row did when that happened.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're in a theater that's like full of fans, then it's better than being in a theater that's like no one knows that it was even a game,
like
for example.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the cameos were like a small thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Corey being a taxi driver, they didn't make him like an actual character in the story.
Okay.
Which I think is where you that's where you draw the line. And I think it was a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were kind of robbed of the Markiplier cameo. Because from what I heard, he was supposed to be the security guard that died in the beginning, and that would have been really, really, really good, I think.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he cameos in one of the sequels, if not both.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I would really like that.
Because I'm sure he wants to. It was just a stupid scheduling thing with his own movie or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
I think there was more of a reason than the schedules didn't line up, because I think it seems like there was something else that they weren't getting at.
Oh, really?
Even I don't think there was, but it just seems to me that there was something else going on, that maybe he wasn't happy with the script, or the fact that he was introduced first, or
yeah, I don't know. It's I thought the same thing, and I was like, it really you couldn't come up with just a couple hours or whatever out of a day,
right?
Or whenever they were filming it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't like to think too much on it.
Speculate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope they learn what worked. I mean, in a way, this movie was kind of an experiment, seeing because seeing what worked, what fans liked, what general audiences liked, and what they didn't, all that stuff. So I'm hoping that they improve upon it with the sequels, but I guess time will tell.
He could just completely change a huge thing, even with a character's backstory, making Afton a different type of character than he was represented to be in.
Who's actually misunderstood.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kids wanted to kill him.
Do like a Texas Chainsaw through 3D. Well, actually, the townspeople did him wrong, and he killed their kids because yeah. Get out of my room, weirdo. No. What was? Yeah, we're about done. What's up? Oh yeah, of course. You good? My roommate wanted to know if he could have one of my ramen noodle packets.
No, he said no.
But yeah, that was our long-winded review of Five Nights at Freddy's. It's hard to have three people and do okay, we're gonna do a 10 to 12-minute video, But I like the podcast format because you can just talk about stuff for a while, and just because it's really hard to actually have a meaningful conversation in 10 minutes. But yeah, thanks for being on the podcast again, guys.
Yep, no problem.
Definitely have to do this again.
100%.
This has been Casual Experts Only. Please subscribe, rate, and review on your podcast platform of choice. And be sure to check us out on social media and YouTube. Links to those in the description. Until next time.